From Earth, we always see the same face of the moon because the moon is spinning on its axis at the same speed that it's going around the Earth. In African cosmology, the moon has always been a feminine symbol, also universally representing the rhythm of time as it embodies the cycle. The phases of the moon symbolize immortality and eternity, and they also express the duality between enlightenment and the dark side of nature. It was always believed to reflect inner knowledge or the phases of man's condition on Earth, since it controls the tides, the rains, the waters, and we're 70% water. So the same influence that it has over the tides, it will have over us as human beings. It's the middle ground between the light of the sun and the darkness of the night. So it represents the realm between the conscious and the unconscious. In African cosmology, the moon is a symbol of the soul. And in our original zodiac, it determined our capacity to reflect and adapt. Each phase of the moon in Kemetic science also represented a different god in the stages of creation. It represented death and rebirth. So taking it out of the context of the gods and bringing it down to basic human understanding, the way that the moon provides analogy for the stages of human development. The new moon represents infancy, the crescent is youth and adolescence, and the full moon is maturity and pregnancy. And the waning moon represents the decline of life and sleep, rest, purging, letting go. The moon ultimately represents our inner world. When looking at your natal chart and the cosmology of when you were born, the sun represents your ego and the moon represents your inner world, hidden emotions, your desires, your fears, your traumas, your worries, and your shadow self. It generally just represents our feelings, our unconscious beliefs, and our yin, our feminine energy. The moon offers us the ability to feel, to learn from the past, and also creatively unlock and express our essence. Our ancestors really honored the moon's magical ability to undergo metamorphosis from a thin sliver to a full orb, to disappear completely, only to return and continue that process all over again. For them, this made the moon a natural symbol for cycles of life and the basis of reckoning for time. Months, even to this day in some African cultures, are calculated from new moon to new moon, which then makes 13 months in a year. It's very different to the way that we measure time now, and the way that we measure time isn't necessarily in sync with nature. That was the most cosmologically synchronized measurement of time. The woman also has 13 periods in a year because our cycles are in sync with the moon. The predictability of the 29.5-day cycle made the moon the celestial body of choice to mark spiritual ceremonies and rituals, many of them being held at the new moon or the full moon. Because the moon cycle is so closely linked to the cycle of the female body, the moon is considered to have feminine attributes. Among the Akan people, also the Bambuti, the Luo, and the Sandawe, the moon is a feminine deity. A lot of our cultures perceive the moon as a companion of God or the mother or even the sister to the sun. In some areas of our continent, women actually track their pregnancy according to lunar months. The connection between the moon and women as the origin of life sometimes factors into creation stories that also hold the moon to be connected to life and death. In Zimbabwe, the first human created was Mwezi, who was the moon. In ancient Kemet, the origin of human souls and the Nile River was the moon. In addition to that, Heter and Oset were both identified with the moon. In Nguni culture, the goddess Nomkhubulwane is also identified with the moon. And the moon in ancient Kemet wasn't always figured as feminine, like when we were talking about the different phases of the moon and how different gods represented the different phases. It was gods like Khonsu and Jehuti, who are male masculine neter. The sacred magic of ancient Egypt has a whole chapter on lunar magic, lunar science, the study of the moon, how they use the moon to measure time, and just their observance of the moon and their understandings of the creation cycle through the moon, its representation of death and rebirth, and the different gods that expressed through the moon. Like right now we're in the season of Heter, and I spoke in the previous video about how Heter channeled a lot of her magic through the moon. She is the house of Heru, and Heru is also associated with the moon as the night version of the sun. But because it is a whole chapter, it's very, very detailed. I do encourage everybody to actually check that out. Some African cultures even believe that the land of the spirits is in the moon. In terms of manifestation rituals that you can get into yourself during the different moon phases, I spoke about how some cultures and some African societies or communities use the moon phases to time their rituals and their ceremonies. This is something that you can do as well as an individual in your home with whatever tools you have at your disposal. But the most important tool is your own intention. The most common rituals are done at either the new moon or the full moon. With the new moon, both the moon and the sun are in the same zodiac sign, giving a really intense boost or concentration of that energy. The new moon is a great time to set your intentions. It's also a really great time to write down your goals, to begin new projects for the coming cycle. In the darkness, in the fertile ground, this is where you plant the seeds of the things that you want most. And you have to consciously focus your mind, body, and spirit on the feeling of the things that you want. So a really important practice to get into when you do your rituals for setting intentions is to meditate, because you really have to bring yourself to yourself and focus on what you're doing. You're sending this energy out to the universe by writing it down or saying it out loud, or really just focusing on it. The way that you release that energy or you send that energy out is up to you. That's something that you can personalize. Whatever you feel helps you focus on it the most. Some people like to put their intentions in a jar. Some people like to put them on their altar, on their msamo. Some people will put it under their pillow or on your bedside table, wherever it is that works for you, really. Just like not in a place that's super public and that's going to have a lot of energies passing through. During the waxing phase of the moon, which will be the waxing crescent, the first quarter, and the waxing gibbous, that's when the energy of your new moon goals is building. So during this time, allow your dreams and your gut to really guide you, because this is the energy that's bringing your manifestation into form. Release any fear or irrational illusion of control that you may have in making these things happen. You can't force anything. Your only job is to focus on the feeling of manifesting those things as if you've already manifested them. It's about bringing those things into the present by dwelling in the energy of already having them. So it's really important when you set your intentions not to use words like I want or I will have or I will be. It has to be in the present tense. So it's I am, I have. During the full moon, the moon is sitting opposite the sun, so it's fully illuminated by the light of the sun. And in this way, they're also on opposite sides of the zodiac during the full moon, which can make the energy really challenging and intense. But it's also a really good time to achieve balance because it has that yin-yang, masculine, feminine energy. It's got that natural harmonic balance. The energy of the full moon is really heightened. Emotions, feelings, mental processes, all of that is just really amplified. So when the sun and moon oppose each other during the full moon, it can cause tension. It can bring an uncomfortable friction within relationships and just within yourself. But at the same time, the potential is outstanding for an amplification of your vision and an amplification of your power to manifest. It's also the best time for gratitude. Thank your guides, thank your deities, thank God, thank yourself, count your blessings, express the gratitude. That's the most powerful way to manifest the things that you want, is to tap into that energy of gratitude. That is the key to manifesting your goals. The full moon is also a really great time to take a spiritual bath or a moon bathe. That's one of my favorite full moon rituals. You light some candles, you throw in essential oils, some flower petals, rose petals, light some incense or a scented candle, spend the time in there feeling gratitude, raising that vibration of self-love, because that is a healing process that helps you shed the things that you don't need going forward. Because also the waning phase of the moon after the full moon is about letting go. It's about shedding. Spiritually, it's the time leading to the death of the moon. So that's a time when you should be shedding dead weight and letting go of unnecessary tension and fears and guilt that you're holding onto, because those are the things that hinder your process of manifestation. If you have any more questions about the moon, please do put them in the comments. Please do check out the Sacred Magic of Ancient Egypt to learn more in depth about what the moon was understood to be in ancient Kemetic science. If you would like us to do an in-depth video on the ancient Kemetic understanding of the moon, you can put it in the comments and we can do a part 2. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care of yourselves, guys.